What is going on, guys? My name is Sean Bernard, and today I'm here with bettingaz.com. I'm here to give you a sportsbook breakdown on DraftKings Sportsbook in the state of Arizona. DraftKings is one of the largest players in the industry, currently legal in 21 states and continuing to grow on an everyday basis. In this video, I'm going to break down the expectations and review of the overall sportsbook, the pros and cons of its outlook and usage, and then overall just take you through the process, how to create an account, deposit money, and place a wager on the sportsbook itself. Now, before I fully dive into it, I do want to make sure that you guys are clicking the link in the description of this video and checking out bettingaz.com. Here's a look at the specific article, breaking down the same content as me in a little bit more in depth. So if you have any specific contents, you can make sure you can check that out on, once again, bettingaz.com, and you can get that right in the description for this video. So they go a little more in depth. If you have more specific questions, that it can be pointed there, but I do just want to take you through the basics in this video and make sure that you have a hand of what to expect when logging on to DraftKings in the state of Arizona. So without further ado, let's get fully into it. I'm going to begin by pulling up DraftKings on this app here. So here's a look at the user interface for DraftKings, what to expect. That black and green is something that they're pretty well known for. That user interface is something that is a staple of their company, and this is an overall outlook for it. The first thing you want to do when you're creating an account for the first time is you want to click that sign up button here. Here's going to take you through the process for how to create an account. You create a username, a password, use an email. You're going to have to verify your identity and location. Before I get further, I would like to say that that is one of the bigger cons with DraftKings is sometimes their geolocation services are a little out of whack, that sometimes it spins pretty frequently on the app. I personally have found more issues with this on the mobile app than there has been on the desktop. But for the most part, that the usage is one of the bigger pros of it. But that is just one little niche in it, or one little topic that I wanted to bring up, that sometimes the geolocation is a little finicky. Usually it's you close out the app, you open it back up, and it will fix itself. But it can be frustrating when you are within the legal boundaries to place that wager and you cannot get it in. Another notable part here is if you scroll down, there is an option for promo code. That is a bigger topic that I did want to talk about as a whole, is that capitalizing on promo codes and ensuring that you are getting the most maximum payouts for the most minimal risk is a huge part of the sports gambling experience. So you want to make sure that you are capitalized on the best possible promo codes. And the best way to do that is by once again clicking the link in the description to this video, going on to bettingaz.com. We have plenty of links to take you directly through those best sportsbook promotions. The most lucrative deals are typically on the sign up process when you're creating an account for the first time, but you should not be closed minded and only looking at that point. The apps are constantly rotating, throwing things out like odds boost that you can take advantage of and once again improve your sports betting experience. DraftKings specifically is one of the best at making sure there are frequent odds boost and promos and no sweat same game parlays, things like that they offer on a regular basis. Those are important to take advantage of and make sure once again that you are setting yourself up for the maximum potential earnings while minimizing your overall risk. So the sportsbook promotions are a big deal in the industry, and you get more information on that on bettingaz.com. Now let's pull up DraftKings again. This is a look that once we are inside the app here, so you can see the first thing that you're going to want to go do is obviously put money in your account. As I mentioned, that it is important to make sure that you are taking advantage of all these sportsbook promotions and getting the most bang for your buck there. But at the end of the day, there is inherent risk that comes with sports gambling. So you do have to wager some money of your own. When you click on that, it brings you to this screen here. You can see the payment options for where to put. There's online banking, a credit or debit card, the PayPal, ACH e-check, a Pay Plus prepaid card, a wire transfer, a DraftKings gift card, cash at select locations, and Venmo. So a pretty diverse option when it comes to where to put money down. That is a huge pro for DraftKings. You can see there is some selected amounts. It's only a $5 minimum deposit for DraftKings. So you simply go through this process, type in how much, type in your information, and you are good to go. One of the other benefits of DraftKings is it is very rapid, that it's immediately dropped into your account. There is a little bit of variance depending on what you're using. I personally can speak from the experience when it comes to credit and debit card and bank transfers or connecting your bank to it to make a deposit, that those are very rapid, that the money is with you instantly and you have a chance to go and make a wager there. So now let's take a look at the actual interface and how to place a wager here. If you scroll down the side, there are separations into what the sports are and leagues. So you can see under popular, we have NFL, college football, Champions League, MLB, English Premier League, MLS, NBA, and then Liga Mexico Soccer. And then if you scroll down a little more, there's some even more diverse options. We're talking about Academy Awards, Aussie Rules Football, boxing, cricket, cycling, darts, esports, handball, hockey, MMA, motorsports, snooker. There's a ton of options for what you want to wager on. This is another massive benefit to DraftKings as a whole, is there is a ton of diverse options, an extensive betting catalog, so you can find whatever game, league, or matchup that you specifically want to. if you're looking for it, DraftKings typically has it. So that is a massive advantage there. Now let's jump into an example here. I'm going to click on the NFL odds. So we're scrolling through. The Arizona Cardinals have been an interesting team this year. I do like Josh Dobbs. He does have a little fight in him, but it is very clear that they're still figuring things out. They are facing off against the Cincinnati Bengals, who have not looked good this week at the time I'm recording this video. Let's say you're a believer in the Arizona Cardinals, that Cincinnati traveling to Arizona, which you can note because they are the lower team listed here. The Cardinals are 3-point underdogs in the matchup, over under 44.5 and plus 140 on the money line. Let's say you believe in the Cardinals, that you think Josh Dobbs has another win up his sleeve, and you're going to click on that. Once you click that plus 140 money line, it adds it directly to your bet slip here, and then you can simply wager the amount. So say you want to put $20 on that. It says $20 bet, total payout of $48 at plus 140 odds. If that's the bet that you want to lock in, you simply click place bet there, and it is locked in. It is simple as that. As I mentioned, it will verify your identity, location, and everything when you log in, but that is as simple as that to place a bet. And one of the bigger advantages of DraftKings and one of the cooler functions that I think a lot of these sports books are leaning into at this point, but it is certainly something that DraftKings has clung to as an identity, is the same game parlay. You can see the option right here to click it. If you want to click on that, let's scroll through and maybe mix together a little parlay of our own here. So let's continue with the Cardinals on the money line there. That's going to be a point. To that same point, I'm going to take over 20.5 points for the Cardinals. I think they can score at least 3 touchdowns and for sure find a way to win. It is a little early in the week at the time that I'm recording it, so it may be a little more limited when it comes to the player props. Those tend to jump up a little closer to the game start. So we're going to have to stick with the basic team props here, but there's still plenty of options when it comes to that. Defensive is a little interesting. Total turnovers, 2.5. That's an interesting line. Special teams props, field goals over 3.5. Scoring plays, first team to score in the first quarter. That's a little interesting. All right, let's go first team to score in the first quarter. I want to go the Cardinals for this. So I think they take the lead right away. So this parlay would be Cardinals to score first in the first quarter, Cardinals to score over 20.5 points, and then Arizona Cardinals money line. That is plus 340 odds for that combined wager there. So I was to put $15 on that. A $15 payout or a $15 bet would pay out $66 if that wager is to hit. So that is something fun to note there, and you can combine as many legs as possible. Another cool factor here, if you click on these dynamic odds, I'm going to show you, this is pretty new on DraftKings, that it shows the way it will impact your overall odds when building a parlay. So let's go back to the normal game line. We'll set up the money line, and then you can see that rather than just the straight up odds of the wager, that you can see how the odds change. So for example, these lines specifically mean that if the Cardinals are going to win, they're going to have to score over 20.5 points. So you can see the under at plus 750, much more juice there. So this is a little interesting outlook and something pretty new to DraftKings, but I do recommend checking things out so you kind of have an eye for what the payout will be as you're constructing your parlay as a whole. So the dynamic odds are worth checking out. I do want to jump over to the MLB side of things to show you guys another example. As I mentioned, a very diverse betting catalog for the amount of wagers on DraftKings Sportsbook as a whole. So I do want to jump into that and take a look. Let's jump to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Starting up, we have the MLB playoffs are finally here. I'm recording this at the time before game one, them facing off with the Brewers. I actually do like the Diamondbacks in this game too. So we can see they're 1.5 run underdogs on the run line. The over-under set at 8. The money line plus 150 for the Diamondbacks. I'm going to take that straight up. So if I was to click the plus 150 there, once again, type your wager. So a $20 bet would pay out $50 for this wager. That's an interesting little bet there. And now in the same way, I can click that same game parlay. And there's the player props will be fully loaded for this matchup because it is about to go down. Let's say I want to stick with the Arizona Diamondbacks money line. Player to get a hit, Wilson Contreras leading the pack at minus 160. I want to think a little bit more outside the box than that. Let's throw in Josh Donaldson at minus 145. Still a guy I feel really confident. That already brings up to plus 330 there. And let's say I think Contreras has a home run in it. So that will bring it to plus 2,200 there just for that part. So once you see that all together, you simply type in your wager. If you're there $10 on it, that's a potential payout of $230. So just a $10 wager to pay out $230. You just click the place bet there, and then you are good to go. Another something that I wanted to note was some of the long-term futures and bets that you can follow along to a long extent, that these are not just one and done. Sometimes it's a little more fun to have bets that you can follow along over the course of a season. So let's say you're feeling super optimistic about the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to scroll back to them. This is not a wager that I would recommend to anybody, but it is something that you can do on DraftKings. So I want to show that. the Arizona Cardinals to win the Super Bowl. The second least likely team are tied with the Bears at plus 40,000, I believe, this year. Let's say what a $5 wager is. So a $5 wager on the Cardinals to win the Super Bowl would pay out $2,005. Once again, this is not a wager that I would recommend, but I do want to show that you can do this. And obviously, this one is a little far-fetched than being right at the bottom for when it comes to odds. You can look for some more, I guess, more optimistic outlook. So, for example, if you want to hop over to the division winner, maybe there's a little more room for optimism there. The Cardinals still plus 7,000 in the NFC West at this point. Again, not a huge surprise based on expectations and everything this year, but I did want to show that. And there's also specific teams that you can jump in, whether you expect them to lose in the conference championship, lose in the division round, win the Super Bowl. Detroit Lions is an option here. So you can scroll through any team for those, as well as individual player awards. If you want to bet for MVP, offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, rookie of the year, coach of the year, comeback player, all these things are offered on DraftKings Sportsbook. And there's also live in-game betting. So if you want to click on the live in-game betting right at the top here, you can scroll down. These are the matchups going on in the Champions League right now. This is the same exact process for betting, but that you have to be on your toes a little more, that these odds are constantly changing. They are constantly rotating. You have to be quick to the trigger to make sure that you get a wager in. You can see them changing in front of our eyes right now. Another thing that I would like to note, I would recommend live betting because I do believe that it is one of the more effective forms of betting because some values can appear on the board that otherwise that would not be there. For example, if you're watching a game, you want to get some skin on the action, and the team that entered as a massive favorite falls behind early, you have a chance to bet them at a much more favorable line that otherwise would not be available and jump on that. Now, there's obviously some risk in it. You can, maybe they're not having their best game. The same thing. Maybe that line is that way for a reason. But it is fun to be able to watch the game, get a little feel for things, how the game is playing out, and then jump in the mix right there. So there is live betting. The process itself works the exact same. For example, if I was to take Union Berlin on the three-way money line here, throw $20 to pay 42, bang, place bet, the total payout right there, and the same exact process. So those are the biggest parts of DraftKings when I talk about the pros and cons. I overall would recommend DraftKings as a sportsbook of choice of mine. I do think that they have all the options covered for what you would hope for in a sportsbook. That number one, the welcome bonus is extremely favorable. They do a really nice job of setting yourself up with some extra money in your account to get you rolling at the start. And even more importantly, in my opinion, that there are constant options for frequent odds boosts, same game parlays, no sweat bonuses, things like that they constantly rotate in to appease current customers and guys that are frequent users of the app. I think that is an area where a lot of sportsbook fall short and DraftKings does not. The payment options are also very diverse. I would give a 5 out of 5 there. That I'm very impressed by the overall appearance, its usage, and while there is sometimes it usually says 1 to 3 days on the payout speed, it generally is much quicker than that. I can speak that I personally have got it in under 24 hours almost every single time, and that is something that is a huge testament to them. Their sportsbook app as a whole, 5 out of 5. I like the functionality of it. I think things are easy to find. The usage of it is pretty seamless in my experience, and I think that once you get the hang of it, it's very easy to use. I think some sports books it gets a little overwhelming. I don't feel that way about DraftKings interface, and I think the usage is very effective. Also, the customer support, I'll drop it down to a 4 out of 5 in this category, just because the options in the customer support department could benefit from being a little bit more dynamic. Email support is helpful, but given the company size, users would greatly benefit from a 24-hour chat service or adding various customer support options will give them 5 stars in this department. So for the most part, if there is a significant issue, they will address it, they will fix it, but it isn't quite the pace of play or the fixed speed that you would hope for on a company of DraftKings size. But overall, I would recommend DraftKings Sportsbook for usage in Arizona. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching this video. Once again, click the link in the description for bettingaz.com to get some more information and make sure you're capitalizing on the best promos. Thank you guys for watching, and make sure to tune in for the next one. Peace.